Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, and Cal Kestis. If these 3 Jedi were to go all out in a duel, who would come out on top? We're going over 5 categories to decide who wins this matchup, that being force power, lightsaber dueling, combat experience, durability, and tactical IQ. The scoring system goes as this: 3 points to the winner, 2 points for second place, and 1 point for last place. At the end, we'll tally up all the points and see who actually wins this first battle. Starting off with force power, this category feels pretty straightforward. When it comes to raw connection to the force, it's got to be Anakin Skywalker. He was literally born from the force and is the chosen one with the highest midichlorian count ever recorded, that being 20,000 per cell. Now, there are some people who claim Luke has a midichlorian count over 23,000, even putting him above Anakin, but that's simply not true. Canon novelization confirms Luke's count to be around 14,000, the same as Leia's, which is still extremely high, but it's not close to Anakin's level. And that 14,000 count is purely because he is the son of Anakin, who was born from the Force itself. Even as Darth Vader, severely weakened, missing limbs, and trapped in his own suit, Anakin still had a stronger connection to the Force than Luke, so the idea that Luke surpasses Anakin in Force potential just doesn't hold up when you actually look at the facts. As for Cal Kestis, his count is considered pretty average by Jedi standards. In Fallen Order, it's speculated to be around 11,000, but what's interesting is that in Jedi Survivor, we see him developing some unique abilities like Force Echoes, Time Slumming, Force Dash, Double Jumping, and even more. That shows his creative and adaptive use of the Force, something not commonly seen even amongst Jedi. Now, if we dig a little deeper into the Cal vs Luke argument, because it's pretty obvious who takes number 1 in this category, yes, Luke technically has a stronger connection to the Force due to his lineage, and over time he does become far more powerful, but if we were to strictly look at Cal in Jedi Survivor and Luke in Return of the Jedi, both characters at that point in their journeys are pretty evenly matched in terms of experience. Cal never advanced past his Padawan years because of Order 66, but he still adapted and survived, developing an extremely versatile and aggressive style of Force use, and Luke was trained by Yoda for a few months, but similar to Cal, it never really advanced past that. He had to learn on his own. So because of that, even though Luke might have a higher raw connection to the Force, Cal's versatility and the wider range of abilities we see him demonstrate gives him an edge in practical application. For example, we don't see Luke doing things like Force Echoes, slowing entire groups of enemies, or Force dashing across gaps. This isn't to say Luke couldn't potentially do them later in his life, but at this point, Cal shows more on-screen application of Force abilities than Luke does. So while the ranking between Cal and Luke is definitely debatable, I personally give Cal the slight edge over Luke in this specific category, purely because of his versatility and creative use of the Force in combat. So Anakin Skywalker gets 3 points, Cal Kestis gets 2, and Luke Skywalker gets 1, but again, you can swap out Cal for Luke here, so it's really just how you view it. But for me personally, I see Cal Kestis demonstrating more versatility than Luke, even though Luke has a stronger connection to the Force. Lightsaber dueling is an interesting topic. See, Anakin is a master of Form V, a highly aggressive style focused on overpowering opponents with strength and overwhelming offense. It's a form designed to dominate, and Anakin certainly made it his own. While Anakin was trained in all 7 forms of lightsaber combat as part of his Jedi Knight training, Form V became his go-to. He blended it with his own ferocity and unpredictability, making it uniquely his. Whether it was his duel against Obi-Wan or his fight on Mustafar, we see him absolutely dominate this form. Luke Skywalker, like Anakin, also uses Form V, and we see this most clearly in Return of the Jedi, especially during his duel with Vader. Luke utilizes powerful, heavy-handed strikes that push Vader back, but there's an important difference. Luke, although trained by Yoda for a few months, mostly learned on his own. He trained through his personal duels, especially against his father, and refined his combat style through real experience. Now, when it comes to Cal Kestis, his primary style combines elements from Form 1 and Form V. Unlike Anakin and Luke, Cal isn't bound to just one form. By Jedi Survivor, he's proficient in multiple stances, switching between single blade, dual wield, and double blade depending on the situation. This versatility makes Cal a unique case. In fact, by the time we reach Jedi Survivor, Cal is canonically proficient in all lightsaber stances, a level of mastery that neither Luke or Anakin reaches, and he adapts to the situation, which shows an impressive level of combat flexibility. With all that in mind, I think the clear first place of this category again goes to Anakin. He is the one with the most training. He knows all 7 forms, whereas Luke only knows 1. Cal, while proficient in all these stances, only really knows 2 forms, and let's be honest, just watching Revenge of the Sith, it's clear Anakin's skills are on a whole other level. The way he fights, the precision and aggression is unmatched. He's an absolute beast with a lightsaber. Now, interestingly enough, I'm ranking Luke second. Here's why. Yes, Cal has more formal lightsaber experience, but Luke demonstrated better dueling skills in a key moment, the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. Watching him take down those Dark Troopers, it's clear that Luke's mastery with the Force and his lightsaber is top tier. While those droids don't wield lightsabers, they're much stronger and more advanced than your average stormtrooper, and Luke cuts through them like they're nothing. The level of control, efficiency, and precision he demonstrates is absolutely impressive. But it's also important to consider the argument that Cal has faced more lightsaber wielding enemies. He's fought multiple Inquisitors, defeated 4 former Jedi turned Sith, and survived countless battles. Cal's experience is more battle-hardened, and when you compare the dueling situations, he's had a lot more time to hone his skills under pressure, and this is what makes the Cal vs Luke debate tricky. While Luke might have a higher peak in terms of overall skill by the time we see Mandalorian, Cal's consistent and diverse fighting experience make him a formidable opponent. He's faced off against a lot of enemies and continues to improve, adapting his own combat style as the situation requires. So this fight definitely depends on perspective. If we're looking at pure dueling skills, Luke is more refined, but if we look at who's fought more challenging lightsaber wielding opponents, Cal has the edge. There might be a few people thinking, well, hold on, Luke did fight Vader in Return of the Jedi, but I would say that Vader was very aware that Luke was his son. I don't think Vader was necessarily trying to kill Luke, and if he was trying to kill Luke, he would have killed him. But that being said, Anakin's now at 6 points, Luke is at 4 points, and Cal Kestis is at 3 points. Combat experience is where things get really interesting again, because Anakin's track record is honestly ridiculous. By the time of Revenge of the Sith, the dude was basically a one-man army. He fought in countless battles during the Clone Wars, leading troops, fighting Sith Lords, bounty hunters, you name it. And it's not just fighting, but winning. His experience isn't just in saber duels, it's in war, open battlefields, space combat, infiltration missions, even political assassinations like with Dooku. His combat resume is stacked. There's a reason Obi-Wan says he was the best star pilot in the galaxy and a cunning warrior. Anakin is undeniably first place here. Now, Cal Kestis, Cal definitely has his feats. He's fought multiple Inquisitors, survived Order 66 as a Padawan, killed Purge Troopers, battled Darth Vader, and in Jedi Survivor, he even took on Ravis and Dagan Gera, both extremely dangerous foes. But the thing with Cal is a lot of his life has been about running, hiding, and striking from the shadows, avoiding open war. So yes, he's seen combat, and yes, he's tough, but he never led armies, never stood face to face with a galaxy-spanning empire. His fights are more personal survival than war heroics, so because of that, he's going to stay in third place for me in this category. Now with Luke, this is where I swap my original thought. While Cal has more saber on saber fights, Luke's overall combat experience is way heavier. Luke faced the Empire at its peak. He led rebel squads, took down the Death Star, fought Vader not once but twice, and stood before the Emperor himself. Plus, by the time of the Mandalorian, he's at the height of his power, walking through Dark Troopers like nothing. So Luke might not have as much saber quantity as Cal, but he's faced bigger stakes, led more dangerous missions, and fought the most powerful villains in the galaxy. So I'm placing Luke solidly in second place here. That leaves Anakin at 9 points, Luke at 5 points, and Cal at 4 points. Durability. When we talk about durability, we often focus on how much punishment someone can physically take, but there's another crucial aspect to consider: mental and emotional resilience. Let's break this down. Anakin Skywalker is undoubtedly one of the most physically durable characters in Star Wars. As Darth Vader, he took a massive amount of physical damage, losing limbs, surviving near-death experiences, and still continuing to fight. His sheer physical resilience is unmatched. In Revenge of the Sith, we see him getting severely injured by Obi-Wan, but even with severe burns and missing limbs, he still managed to be a powerful force, literally and figuratively. He's a machine in combat, surviving situations that would have taken down most others. But here's the thing, Anakin's durability isn't just about the physical, it's also about the toll of his emotional turmoil. His fear of losing Padme, his attachment issues, and the manipulation of Palpatine slowly broke him. His fall of the dark side wasn't just physical, but a crushing emotional blow. And while his durability helped him physically survive, emotionally he broke. His inability to fully recover from that pain is a weakness in his mental and emotional durability. He was constantly battling his inner demons, and that ultimately led to his downfall. Now, Luke Skywalker is an interesting comparison here because yes, physically Anakin was probably more resilient in terms of durability, especially in his prime as Darth Vader, but Luke's strengths lies in his mental and emotional durability. Luke faced unimaginable hardships. Luke wasn't a slave and didn't have the same kind of early life trauma as Anakin. However, Luke still suffered devastating losses like losing Obi-Wan, facing the truth about his father, seeing his friends in danger, losing Ben Solo to the dark side in the sequels, and carrying the weight of being the last hope for the Jedi Order. Yet through all of that, Luke resisted the temptation of the dark side even when Vader and the Emperor tried to break him. Luke's refusal to fall to the darkness when it was offered to him at his lowest moment shows a mental resilience that Anakin simply didn't have. And that's where the balance comes in, because while Anakin is physically more durable, Luke is emotionally and mentally durable. They balance each other out in this category. And when it comes to Star Wars, emotional and mental durability is just as important as physical durability. Now for Cal Kestis, while skilled and resourceful, can't compare in terms of durability of these other two. He has been through a lot in Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, but his experience haven't pushed him to the same extreme limits as Anakin and Luke. His survival is more about running and learning to protect himself rather than facing life-altering emotional events or the kind of physical punishment Anakin and Luke endured. Cal is still on his journey, and while he's resilient, he's not yet tested in the same way that both Anakin and Luke have. So the first place in this category for me is Luke Skywalker, second place is Anakin, and last place is Cal Kestis, which means Anakin has 11 points, Luke has 9 points, and Cal has 4 points. Tactical IQ is an area where I'm actually going to give the edge to Luke Skywalker. Now, I know some people might find that surprising, but I want to be clear, I'm strictly talking about Anakin Skywalker, not Darth Vader. Anakin was undeniably a brilliant strategist during the Clone Wars. His record speaks for itself. He was a hero of the Republic and led countless campaigns. But what always held Anakin back was his emotions, his cockiness, his arrogance, his recklessness, the list goes on. This flaw was exploited time and time again, and ultimately what cost him dearly on Mustafar when Obi-Wan defeated him. He's overconfident, and tunnel vision made him predictable in critical moments. Luke, on the other hand, showed far more restraint and balance. He learned from his mistakes, like his failure in Cloud City, and by Return of the Jedi, he displayed a level of calm and clarity that Anakin never really had. Luke was able to see the bigger picture. He chose not to fight out of hatred, but to strategically surrender and appeal to Vader's humanity. That wasn't just emotional strength, it was tactical brilliance, and in that sense, I feel like Luke surpasses Anakin here. As for Cal Kestis, while he is a survivor and incredibly resourceful, his tactical feats are nowhere near the same level. He's reactive, he adapts well, but he hasn't shown the grand strategy or emotional discipline that Luke and Anakin have demonstrated in galactic scale conflicts. So for tactical IQ, Luke takes first, Anakin takes seconds, and Cal is in last. Let's go over all the categories and all the points are allocated to each Jedi. So for force power, Anakin has 3, Luke has 1, and Cal has 2. I also want to point out the fact that Luke has more raw potential than Cal. I gave Cal the point here because of his versatility. For dueling, Anakin has 3, Luke has 2, and Cal has 1. Combat experience, Anakin has 3, Luke has 2, and Cal has 1. And durability is kind of tied, but I did give the edge to Luke for his emotional and mental durability, but Anakin has 2, Luke has 2 or 3 depending on how you view it, and Cal Kestis has 1. Tactical IQ, Anakin has 2, Luke has 3, and Cal has 1. So the total here is Anakin has 13 points, Luke has 10 or 11 depending how you look at durability, and Cal has 6. So the obvious winner would be Anakin, but I can definitely see Luke edging it out on a few categories depending how you actually rank this. But for me, Anakin comes out on top if these 3 Jedi were to have a fight, and Cal Kestis is going to lose pretty much every single time. I don't see him beating Luke, and I don't see him beating Anakin, but I can see Luke beating Anakin. It just depends how you scale this, but for me, Anakin is the clear winner of this matchup, with Luke being second and Cal being last. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Who do you think wins? Do you think Luke could actually beat Anakin, or are you crazy enough to say Cal beats both of them? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next upload, which will be Obi-Wan vs Luke Skywalker.